Back here again. Alright, so these are somebody that we do not know. Broken glass. Broken car window? Yeah. Whoa. Oh boy. Yeah, that's a cold open, alright. Whose bodies are those? I mean, it's... I don't know. Ooh. From punching in the previous episode. Also reinforcing that he is going to live with this scar, these wounds, right? Water doesn't seem to be clean.
Besides, I want you well for the weekend.
Do you have plans?
Mom wants to party.
Oh yeah, of course.
We'll get together, that's all.
A celebration, right? Yeah, it's a celebration for them, but it's a nightmare for Walt. Torture, even.
Can you meet?
I love how instant that is.
So, where does it stand? I'm coughing up blood, giving speeches, like, I deserve this, I'm an asshole.
I love these shots, man. There's a sense of loneliness in that previous shot, since they're the only characters on screen. Love this shot.
No, I'm not out of the woods yet.
Again, with their reflections.
That's great, man. I mean, my aunt, she never...
Yeah. Everybody's happy. I'm happy that Jesse's happy. But Walter's the only one who's not happy. The irony, right?
Almost forgot.
Great composition again. The rule of thirds in full display.
Well, then I guess I'm done.
Yeah, thought so. He wants to get out. Of course, he doesn't want to do more. But obviously that's not gonna be the case. I love that. Making it seem like it's crystal meth, but it's not. It's just ice.
I have to say, Walt's come through it like a champ. All right. Honey, I'm so proud of you. Oh.
Man, I love Bryan Cranston's acting. Like you can feel that he does not feel comfortable in that scene.
We are so excited about the future.
Like he's not even making eye contact with her.
They send their regrets and their warm wishes.
Gretchen and yeah,
Elliot Schwartz.
thought so.
They are incredibly generous friends who made the amazing offer to pay for Walt's treatment. And
This, yeah. It's the fact that they didn't really do anything that is ticking Walt off. Because now it's like everybody's like praising them more for things that they didn't do.
When I got my diagnosis, cancer, I said to myself, why me? And then, the other day when I got the good news, I said the same thing.
Wow. That's brilliant.
Anyway.
Love that. Love that line.
Wow. Inspirational.
Oh, always with the jokes, Hank.
Hey, top me off there, will you, buddy?
Anyway, poetic.
Poetic.
Better not let your mom see.
Hey, look at these. These three gentlemen.
Oh yeah, I think I see a hair, maybe two.
I'm focusing on Walter's expression right now. It's just filled with disgust, anger, jealousy.
We were drinking Mescal stupid, but hey,
Whoa, 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 whoa.
what are you looking at him for?
Oh,
We're celebrating.
suddenly the mood changed. He's gonna pour it anyways.
Think we've been bogarting this puppy long enough. Hey! Bring the bottle back. Sorry, buddy. No can do.
Oh, whoa.
My son. My bottle. My house.
There it is. The boiling point.
Bring it back.
What happens when you hurt somebody's ego? Was that a smile I see from Walt? Yeah, just a bit.
This is your brain. This is your brain on drugs.
Really glad that Jesse has found a bit of happiness in his life. Just a stark contrast between Jesse and Walter's situation right now. I just don't want Walter to see Jesse's happiness and he tries to take it away from him. That's like the one thing that I'm afraid of. Because he's gonna feel jealous, right? How are you able to find happiness and not me? And all that stuff. There's still some eggshells and...
I'm all yours.
Really?
Yeah. The lighting in that shot was perfect. The light from the window just directing towards Walter.
I'm not exactly sure who that was yesterday, but it wasn't me.
I'm
sorry.
One could say that that was Heisenberg. Yeah, time to watch it. Man, the color just got worse and worse. See, I don't know if that's that's just dirt, right? Great. That was great. Using the color of the tea to cut back and forth between. Oh, that was brilliant. That was brilliant. I love that.
Set you back about 1,200.
It's not an issue.
It's really not an issue anymore for Walt. Take it back. Always the reminder of where you got the money from.
You know that, right? Only female kangaroos have pouches.
Yeah, I know. But,
He doesn't know.
Dude, he's a product of experimentation.
Sure, let's go with that.
And this is?
It's Backwardo. Oh no, I changed it to Rewindo. Anyways, he goes backwards. He can make everything go in reverse.
Time and stuff, like time traveling.
No, he just walks backwards.
He walks backwards.
Is that a superpower? What is that?
Oh, I mean, he does it really fast.
Backwardo.
At him with a knife, right? I mean, it's helpful.
And then you can just go back. Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yo, I was a kid.
Jesse's sense of humor is funny.
They all look like you.
What?
It's you in all of these.
Huh.
Oh.
I wonder what a shrink would say if he.
Walter?
Sounds like mine.
Oh. Her father?
Hey, hold up. Where are you?
The change in clothes and whatever. Yeah, almost as if she needs to be a different person. Huh. Oh yeah, that feels like a father, all right.
Sure, yeah.
Hey,
Don't fuck it up, Jesse. Don't fuck it up. Don't fuck it up.
I'm sorry, did you need something?
Yeah, completely different person. Right. It's a common thing in this show for people to have different personas and different identities. It looks clear.
Built-in corrosion-resistant draft reducer, safety thermal couple with the pilot burner.
Sounds really good, Dad.
I don't know what it means, but it sounds good as well. Gonna talk about the other day?
Son, about yesterday.
There we go.
your old man embarrassed himself. And
This is good. This is good. Own up to your mistakes.
You and Uncle Hank, you seem pissed off.
No, we're fine. Everything's fine.
I called him this morning and made my apologies.
Did you, though?
Having you drink in the first place, it was not right.
It was not right at all.
I'm very sorry.
Mm-hmm.
But I kept up, right? You and Uncle Hank. I drank 3.
You can tell that Walter Jr. really wants to, fix this broken fence between him and his father. Ugh. Well, I guess that's what happens when the water seeped in.
Yeah, I told you, he's a hard ass.
Seem cool to me.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, well, you don't know him yet.
You acted like you didn't even know me.
So?
Yeah, that was a bit.
You think I'm gonna be all like, hey dad, meet the stoner guy who lives next door, and by the way, I'm sleeping with him?
That's all you think you're doing?
Why do you even care about my dad?
I don't.
Ooh.
I don't know why we're talking about it.
Us. All right, I'm talking about us.
Us.
You and me.
Oh, boy.
Who's you and me?
Oh, boy. Yikes.
I'm out of here.
She's not ready for a full relationship, whereas Jesse is really hoping that that would be the case. Oh, man.
Take a look at that. See that? Ever seen anything like it?
It's wood.
That's good. That contains fruiting bodies.
Well, better get to it.
A part of me... A part of me feels like
Not if I can help it.
Walter's doing this because he really doesn't have anything else to do. Love the sound transition in that scene. But yeah, I mean the water filter, yeah, that's pretty obvious, and that needs to be taken care of. But I mean, I don't know much about like wood rotting, but it does feel like Walter really doesn't have anything to do, so he's just preoccupying himself with a lot of these
Bug for promotion? Go home already.
these extra work
Can I just
Kind of like a means to escape, right?
her account?
I just feel so damn ungrateful.
I feel like there's a little something there, but great scene nonetheless. Great acting from her. Meanwhile, maybe no, that wasn't Walter in the beginning, was it? Because the clothing and the equipment looks familiar, right? Walter's wearing a white coat and all, but the mask, I don't know. Because the people in the beginning they don't look like somebody that we know, at least at first glance.
Are you going to work today?
He is working.
This rot.
Yeah. Yeah, he's... I mean, obviously he's doing this because there is no work to be done because he doesn't want to go back to work. Oh man, poor Jesse. He is shivering. Jane? Backwardo? Oh. Apology girl. That's sweet. That is sweet. Now that is sweet. I don't know why I thought of Backwardo.
Good night, Dad.
Good night.
Oh, damn!
And here we have Skylar trying to get his attention. Here we go again, buys more stuff, postpones everything else. Man, I hate the fact that I have been in this situation before. Walter, you're going to spend all of that money that you've been doing. Acetone? I don't know what he was focusing on.
You're buying the wrong matches.
What?
Those matches, they're the wrong kind. Red phosphorus is found in the striker strips, not the matches themselves. You need to get the big 200 count box of individual matchbooks. And don't buy everything in one place. Do it piecemeal. Different items, different stores. Attracts less attention.
This poor random dude just stumbles upon Heisenberg and he's running away. He's probably not even trying to make... he's probably not even trying to cook meth or anything. Walter, you cheeky bastard. Scaring people off. You can't deny it, Walt. You need to cook. This is amazing.
Stay out.
Oh, wow. I mean, the name of Heisenberg has spread throughout, like, the region, right? And I'm pretty sure at this point a lot of people know what Heisenberg looks like, they just never met him. So I guess to see somebody who is bald and fits his description, and then just talks about, you know, all of these things. Wow, that was brilliant. This episode was... There's a lot of Heisenberg in this episode. This is the episode where Walter not transitions, but Walter realizing that his role as Heisenberg is you cannot ignore that anymore. That is who you are now. And he has accepted that. Embraced it even. Great episode. Great episode. Okay, so episode 10 of Breaking Bad. This episode, I would say, is the part where Heisenberg takes full control of, well, not really full control, but it takes most control of Walter's identity, right? This is the episode where, Walter has always been trying his best to balance out between his life as Walter White and as Heisenberg, and there's always there are always moments where Walter is seemingly suppressing Heisenberg, as in he doesn't want Heisenberg to be his identity forever. And then, of course, the previous episode happened. He realizes that he is probably not going to die sooner, and he's going to have to live with all of these terrible mistakes and all of these actions that he has caused. This guilt. And Walter White cannot deal with that. Walter White cannot handle that level of weight and responsibility. But Heisenberg can. You know, this episode, thinking back about it, there's a lot of symbolism that I didn't really talk about during the reaction itself, but, you know, stuff like the rot building up on his house, right? That immediately I just realized that is symbolizing Walter's own cancer, and then the cancer itself can also be symbolizing Heisenberg. It can also be symbolized as the cancer that is growing within Walter. It's because it's like there's this irony or this sense of poetry, if you will, as Hank puts it lightly in this episode, where Walt's actual cancer is shrinking, right? It is shrinking down. He is, in a way, recovering. But as his cancer shrinks, his ego grows, and Heisenberg becomes the new cancer, if you will, right? This festering personality that creeps in on Walter every now and again. And now Walter realizes that he can't really escape it. This final scene was brilliant because it shows that Walter is trying his best to get away from that life completely, because Walter doesn't want to, he cannot accept it, right? He cannot fathom the idea that he is going to live more years to come, while in the back of his mind he will always remember the fact that he has killed multiple people in the past, that he has done a lot of really terrible things, the fact that he has been lying to his family and fracturing their relationships and all. Like, how do you live like that? Because Walter was ready to do all of that, to sacrifice himself, his own identity, to become Heisenberg, because he knows that he is going to die soon. He's going to leave his family, and he is going to take Heisenberg to the grave. That was the point, right? He is going to create this new personality, this new character, Heisenberg. And when he dies, Heisenberg dies as well. Now, that's not the case anymore, is it? Now there's the high chance that he's gonna be alive. There's the high chance that Heisenberg is going to be with him forever. So instead of letting Heisenberg go away, just like the way he is trying to get rid of the rot within the house, you can't really do it anymore. You realize that the rot is so spread out, right? That was the moment when Walter was looking at, you know, the other I guess wood planks underneath his house, and then he realizes that, oh, I need to fix this, right? And thus he goes into this department store and buys the paint the paint bucket, which is also white, because he realizes that it has spread so much that it is almost impossible to actually, you know, hide it anymore. And thus, that is exactly what he does. By the end of this, he could not hide it anymore. He drops the paint bucket. The white. He is dropping the white. He is letting go of the Walter White character. And at this moment, Heisenberg has taken over. And as I said before, right, in the reaction, I think because of the fact that a lot of people already know who Heisenberg is, right? They have a description of them. Yes, technically speaking, Heisenberg is in jail because of the whole fiasco with Saul and that plan going on, but still, though, it's the fact that I feel like a lot of people at this point knows who what Heisenberg looks like, but they just never met them. At least I think that is the case. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like at this point there's, you know, a lot of people know the name of Heisenberg and maybe its their description. And seeing Walter right here, seeing Heisenberg in the flesh, just talking about them, these two people, they're like, oh yeah, we're not gonna say your name. We're cool, man. We're cool. And this is also, I guess, again, like the part where Heisenberg has accepted his role as the new kingpin of Albuquerque, right? And filling in the shoes that Tuco left. So now it's only a matter of where are you gonna go from here, right? It's only gonna go uphill, right? And that's the thing. The more and more time that Walter becomes Heisenberg, the more he is going to be distant from his family. This episode has shown a lot of that. From Walter Jr. to especially Skyler. But let's talk about Walter Jr. first. That scene with Hank was great, this scene. Because one, you can definitely tell how much Walter's pride is being hurt right now. Like, how dare my son is more friendly, more closer to Hank, my brother-in-law, and not me, his actual father. Like, that hurts his pride a lot. And this has been growing a lot since the first episode, right? The first episode, when we were first introduced to these characters, Hank was giving him a gun. Let us not forget the fact that Hank and Walter Jr. was so close together that Hank was like, look at this baby, look at this gun that I have. Americans, but even then, Walter was like looking at them and he was like, what are you doing? Why are you showing him that? And now, it's like Walter is trying to mimic that same vibe, as in, you know, oh, I'm the cool dad, right? I'm allowing you to do all of these adult things, right? Like, I care about you, son. But of course, that's like that has like the opposite effect, at least for, you know, for how a lot of people perceives Walt. Walter Jr. on the other hand, I feel like he is, again, he's trying his best, right? You can definitely tell that Walter Jr. really wants to fix this broken fence between him and his father, and he wants to, you know, to be closer to him. The problem is, of course, Walter's not really doing a good job at it. Now, it's one thing because I do know that Walter Jr. knows how his father acts, but at the same time, it's also that there is that bit of admiration that he has for Walter, despite all of his, despite all of his weaknesses, if you will. So yeah, this scene was great. I love this scene so much. It's also because of the fact that Hank was just smiling and being happy all this time, even though we know deep down Hank is probably having an episode in his mind, talking about like Tortuga and all. But you know, keeping up appearances, always happy, always smiling, right? He has to be the good uncle towards Walter Jr., which is also another thing that I do want to talk about, right? It's the fact that Hank is trying his best to be the best uncle that Walter Jr. has, right? He cares about him. He takes care of him. He looks out for him. Some would even argue better than Walter, right? We also got to remember that deep down, Hank is very fragile. He is keeping up appearances right now. He is, he is doing his tough guy act of like, I laugh at the face of danger, haha, Tortuga, that dude got blown into bits, and, that was cool and awesome because I was there, and all, you know what I mean? But deep down, we know how traumatized Hank is, so there is that level of admiration from me as well on how I love Hank's character, because, this is how a father would usually act, right? Where they are trying to hide their fragility because they don't want to seem weak towards other family members, right? Because they are the protectors of their family, right? And in the case of Hank, it becomes even more admirable because Hank isn't really Walter Jr.'s father. He's his uncle, right? That just goes to show like how much he cares for this family. And then you have Walter White, on the other hand, who also is trying to hide his fragility, but in doing so, he is also giving off this tough guy act, right? Especially here, where Walter's like, drink some more, and then he gets pissed off at Hank. It's just the difference between like how these two characters handle their current situation and how they handle their own weaknesses. Hank hides his weaknesses through positivity. Walter hides his fragility through violence and control because he doesn't want to be weak. There's like the biggest difference between the two. Now that I'm thinking about it, trying to analyze it live without actually thinking much more about it. But yeah, Hank is hiding his weakness by not actually showing. I mean, he is technically showing power, but it's like, again, that's what I said before, like, haha, I laugh at the face of danger. Hiding his weakness through acts of courage, whereas Walter hides his fragility through acts of violence and terror, if you will, because he wants to extrude control. And that's usually the case with a lot of these people. A lot of these people who are, very, I don't want to say weak, but fragile, like Walter. They don't want to seem weak. They don't want to seem like they are not in control. They don't want to seem as if they can't really do anything. And in the case of Walter White, that has always been his entire life. He can't really control anything. He's always been second place, especially with in regards to like Gretchen and Elliot, for example. Like they didn't even do anything, and then they got like the clappings of like, oh yeah, these two people, yes, they helped Walter and his family by funding, even though they never really funded it to begin with. But that's like how much Walter's lie backfired upon him, because he doesn't want Elliot and Gretchen to be a part of this at all, and so he is lying to them and everybody else. But now it's like they're getting the credit, whereas Walter, who's like working his ass off, isn't really getting anything, and that just kind of hurts his pride more. And it's this situation where Walter's character keeps getting hurt more and more, his pride, his ego, that Heisenberg kicks in, that Heisenberg creeps in and says, hey, you don't like that, do you? You know that I can help you, Walt. You know that I can change this. And thus, he did. Heisenberg took control of this scene. Heisenberg lets his son drink a lot of alcohol. Heisenberg was the one who faced off against Hank and said, this is my house, get the fuck out, what are you doing? This is my rules, it's my son. You know how the saying goes, if somebody tells you that they're in control, that means that they are not in control at all? Like, if you're in control, you don't need to tell people that you are in control. The fact that Walter or Heisenberg in this situation is telling Hank that this is my house, that's my son, and all, goes to show that, yeah, Walter has loss in this department. He knows that he has loss. He knows that Hank is the better father to Walter Jr. And he tried his best. But ultimately, what happened is that he just embarrassed himself. Now, it is good to note that, one, it seems like Walter Jr. doesn't really care too much. Or Walter Jr. is putting that usual son, that usual, you know how you know that your father or your mother or your parents aren't really, you know, being good or not being good, but they're not the best parents, so you're also putting up an act as if, you know, like you care about them, or you support them, whatever you want and all that stuff. Maybe that's what Walter Jr. is feeling. I don't know. It could be that. It could be his genuine feeling that he really does not care, or he, you know, again, like he wants to amend this broken fence between Walter and himself, and thus he keeps on trying to, you know, to stay close to his dad, right? To be more connected. Because at this point, I feel like Walter Jr. should know that his father is trying his best to connect with him, and thus, and therefore, Walter Jr. is also trying to connect with him, you know, to just to please both parties. But yeah, it is good to note that Walter did apologize to Walter Jr. because obviously, you know, he is the one that is getting affected by this. But Walter White did mention that he apologized to Hank. We didn't see it though, so I am not 100% sure that what Walter said there was the truth or not. If it is the truth, then that's good, but I don't know. Well, to be fair, I think it's the truth. Actually, I'm giving Walter the benefit of the doubt because I know that Walter and Hank, they are close, right? They are really close friends. Especially in the previous episodes when Walter was actually consoling Hank, right, and telling him, you know, hey, it's fine. I know how you feel. And you know how they are more of the same, more or less. It's just there are different actions. But yeah, it's just this one irritating thing for Walter, right? Because it revolves around his son, but everything else should be good between Walter and Hank. I mean, sure, like they've had a lot of past conflicts and differences aside, but they're still brothers. And that's the point. Now let's shift gears a bit and let's talk about Jesse for a bit, because Jesse is the other half of this episode. I feel really bad for Jesse during this moment. I really do. Like, I mean, there is that that contrast between Jesse's life and Walter's life, because both of these people are trying to find happiness within their lives. Jesse has found that happiness, but we got a glimpse of what it would feel like if that happiness was taken away from him. Seeing Jane's father, I feel like we're gonna be setting up a classic future father, future son meeting, and they're gonna talk it out, and you know, Jesse's gonna have a hard time explaining and convincing Jane's father and all. I feel like that's probably gonna be a scene if they are going to, you know, continue with this relationship. But I really do enjoy this relationship a lot. I really do. It's fun. It's almost refreshing in a way, and it is kind of needed, I would say, because all of the crazy shit that happened, you know, in the story, and even when we're talking about like relationships between characters, like Walter and Skylar's relationship, like that is a bit rocky right now, especially with Skylar and his co-worker whose name I am forgetting. But yeah, they're definitely setting up something there. But this kind of wholesome, not gonna lie. I mean, these two and their relationship. I mean, yeah, it's, you know, young adults, and their relationships aren't necessarily, you know, it's always rocky, right? It's always back and forth. There's always some good, there's always some bad. We're experiencing the good and the bad with Jesse's relationship, but it's also how committed these two characters are. Jesse is committed, Jane was not, and the fact that Jane was talking about, like, what do you mean us? Who is us? What are you talking about, Jesse? What is us? Yeah, that kind of hurts. That kind of stings for Jesse, especially because of how much they've been spending time together and how much Jesse has been opening up himself towards her. Right? That's one thing you gotta realize. Jesse isn't the type of person that is willing to open up himself to other people, I think. Right? And even with Walter, there's still some things that he is keeping away from. Obviously, they have like that bonding moment when Jesse told Walter about his aunt, and how she died of cancer. Like, there is that sense of relatability. Plus, that the diner scene in the beginning of the episode when Walter and Jesse was talking was really good. It was well shot as well. But yeah, but we're talking about like private life. Like, Jesse is really, you know, he doesn't really want to share it at all, and he's currently sharing it with Jane, like even showing her like his drawing book and all. Really funny, by the way. like some of those superheroes and those superpowers that Jesse made really gave me a laugh or two. That was really funny. But yeah, it is a nice change of pace from Walter's identity crisis of finding out or trying to find out who he really is and what his purpose in life is, with Jesse's life as he's trying to find and settle down and commit, if you will. Because here's the thing, Walter is accepting his role as Heisenberg. That can be a major obstacle for Jesse. Because if Jesse wants to be with Jane, then Jesse's gonna be the one who's gonna have a hard time juggling between his life with Jane and his life with Walter, right? So that is like the one thing that I was concerned about the most. I talked about it during the reaction of how I hope that Walter does not see Jesse's situation. I hope he does not see how happy Jesse is and he feels jealous about it. Like, I really wish that Walter is going to see this as a positive, as in, hey, congrats, that's great, that's good job, my former student, and not, how are you finding happiness and I am not? How dare you achieve this while I have to sit through all of the, because that's just how Walter is, right? We've seen that happen multiple times in the season, in this series already, even, of how much Walter is jealous of Jesse's situation, right? Every time they were bickering and talking about like who's doing who, Walter's always going to defend himself and saying, oh, I'm going to be the one who's doing this, ho ho ho, whereas you're gonna be sitting there all fine and lovely, whereas I'm gonna be the one who's doing all of the work. You know what I mean? Like, that's usually the case, so I really wish and I really hope that Walter's not gonna destroy this at all, just to bring Jesse in, because I was like, if Jesse is committed to this, then Jesse's gonna be locked in this relationship, and he's probably gonna be focusing on this relationship more than his job cooking meth with Walt. So if Walter really needs Jesse, then that's gonna be the obstacle for Walt, right? He needs to separate these two, which, yeah, I don't really want that to happen. So here's hoping that everything works out fine. I'm sure that's not gonna be the case, but I'm willing to hold out hope for at least a couple of more episodes where everything is fine and dandy. Yeah. Beginning of the episode though. Let's end the discussion with the beginning of the episode. So let's look at this for a bit. Yeah, that's not Walter. Yeah, no, that's not Walter at all. I talked about like, could this be Walter when we saw Walter with, you know, with the white suit and you know, the face mask and whatever in the middle of the episode. Nope, these guys are well prepared and well equipped. Way more than Walter, that's for sure. So what happened here? And there are two bodies, of course. This is Walter's home, right? Pretty sure it is. I mean, it is. I mean, it is the pool, right? And unless I'm gaslighting myself into thinking that this is not Walter's house, but I'm pretty sure this is. So, questions. What happened? How did the car become this way? Who's the two bodies? And I guess I'll talk about this now because I did read a comment in one of the videos. I forgot which one it was. But one of the comments are saying that I gotta keep an eye out on episode titles. Episode titles and what they mean. So, I don't know the title of this episode. So, hang on, let me go check just a bit. Over. So this episode is called Over. And we have multiple instances where we start the episode with the black and white cold open, right? And those episodes are episode 1, 737, episode 4, which is Down, and then of course this episode, episode 10, Over. I think I get what those people are saying. I think I pieced the puzzle out. 737, Down, Over. And I'm just looking at the episode titles for the rest of the season, and I am willing to bet that it's gonna be the final episode titled ABQ, short for Albuquerque. So 737, Down, Over, Albuquerque. Which, if that is the case, then that just means that all of those things that we saw, the dolls, the objects within the pool, probably the two bodies that we saw, the reason why the car was shattered is probably because the 737 literally went down over Albuquerque. So that's my guess. I feel like I cracked the case on that one. Although I feel like I don't feel like I would never crack the case if somebody never told me that, but since somebody did told me that, I need to keep an eye out on like episode titles. Yeah, I feel like I cracked that on, which if that is the case, then I talked about it in the first episode of how there's that news television that Walter was looking at in the beginning of the episode. But obviously that happened before, and this is probably happening afterwards. Because I thought that the news outlet that was talking about, like, there's a crash and whatever, I thought that was going to be like, a plane crash or whatever, but I guess not. I don't think that's the case. I think that's a completely different misdirection, if you will. But yeah, I feel like I cracked that open. I feel like I solved the mystery in this regard. So yeah, that's like the final thing that I want to discuss. Anyways, thank you all so much for tuning in. See you all next time for the next episode of Breaking Bad. Early access available on the Patreon, links in the description below. Take care, have a nice day. Peace.